we can get into our fan game of the week, Technical Foul fan game of the week, voted on by the fans for this to be a game we talked about, and it's Vanderbilt out in South Carolina. Two teams with high aspirations. If you talk to them, you ask Diego Pavia, he's saying we're going to the playoffs. South Carolina thinks Lenore Sellers can lead them into the playoffs. So this is a huge kickoff to SEC play for both of these teams. And we have seen them both play a common opponent in Virginia Tech, and Vanderbilt looked a lot more impressive against Virginia Tech than South Carolina did. But South Carolina is favored by 4.5, largely because it's at home. Initial thoughts on this game, guys? What do you all expect to see? Anything you are looking for?
Well, a common theme with this one, with a lot of the games we're going to talk about today, is South Carolina opened at 5.5-point favorites, and the money is bet it down to 3.5. So the public is
3.5, 4.5.
down. It's 3.5 right now on ESPN.
So
Wow.
it dropped a point.
It
since
just
we made
dropped all
that
the way down to 3.5
since this
right?
morning. Good to know.
So people are high on Vanderbilt, and they have every right to be considering the common opponent. Like Diego Pavia has been pretty solid this year, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, almost 500 passing yards through 2 games for a quarterback that's supposed to be a dual threat, not really a pocket passer. To have that kind of passing volume so far is good.
Yeah.
Cedric Alexander has been really dynamic. For me, he scored 17 points each game in fantasy football, but he's 22 carries, 156 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns. He's kind of the key to the game. If they can run the football effectively against South Carolina, control the clock, control the crowd, they're going to have a good chance in this game. But my early lean is still like South Carolina. South Carolina deserves, I think, in my opinion, to be rated this high at 11 in the AP poll. And I think it's Lenore Sellers. There's no game plan to stop Lenore Sellers. No offense, but like I do think there's a big difference between the way those Virginia Tech games went. Like, yes, it was close, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, but I also think it was week 1. It was an abnormal starting time for it being on it was on Sunday.
Sunday afternoon,
Yeah, like 1:30, 2:30,
it
something
was
like that.
Abnormal crowd environment. You're really getting the best test out of each. And then with the short week, Virginia Tech hosts Vanderbilt. And in that second half, they just got grounded and pounded by Vandy. I just don't think the common opponent plays as much as a factor as people are thinking.
Sure.
I'm leaning Gamecocks personally. And that's coming from a guy who's a Clemson fan, but I'm also the head coach of South Carolina right now. So
Yeah, talking
in the
about
video game.
South Carolina being deserving of their number 11 ranking, I personally haven't seen it with this team yet for them to be that high. I get the preseason hype, and they've not done anything to drop, so I'm not saying like they shouldn't be 11. But they just have not impressed me at all offensively. Lenore Sellers has a little over 300 passing yards through 2 games, not 100 on the ground. They don't have an 100-yard rusher or a 100-yard receiver on this team through 2 games. They've really relied on the kicking game, kick return game. Bakari Swain has 3 punt returns for touchdowns. Huge one in the Virginia Tech game, and then 2 against South Carolina State.
Correct.
So the offense just has not impressed me at all for this group. It once again, kind of what I was thinking it was going to be preseason, is Lenore Sellers going to kind of have to carry this bunch, and he's off to a slow start. I expect good things from him. I think he will pick it up, but it's kind of this is a game where I think he's going to have to pick it up, or they could end up losing this game. Thoughts, Sanders?
Yeah, I think the big thing will be like, what can South Carolina make Diego Pavia do? I think that if they can take away the run game, and that's exactly what you said, that Cedric Alexander in that run game is what's going to be important. If South Carolina can take that away, I'll be interested to see what the passing offense looks like. In their 44 points they scored last week, Pavia had under 200 passing yards, 12 attempts with 2 touchdowns and an interception. So big game, a lot of points, not the most impressive through the air. He also added another 61 on the ground. They had 3 rushing touchdowns. So I think the best thing for South Carolina is to try and take away that rushing game, because Pavia is like, that's not his. He's not a guy who's just going to stand in the pocket and deal. So if you can really get in the box, and then Tucker made a great point. He said he went to the Virginia Tech Vanderbilt game. Pavia looked incredible, and I feel like that's kind of been the situation. Like, whenever Vanderbilt runs into a defense that can't stop the QB run, like we saw against Alabama last year, a fringe playoff team in Alabama last year, they're just going to run all over you, and you're not going to be able to stop it. So the question is going to be, can South Carolina stop that run game? Can they stop the QB run? Sven makes a good point about having Dylan Stewart to kind of try and hunt down. Maybe they use him to try and counter Diego Pavia, but they're going to have to put a spy or two to try and stop that.
As good as Dylan Stewart is, he's a better pass rusher than a run defender, and Vanderbilt's not really going to get in a ton of situations where they're going to have Diego Pavia just drop back, look to pass way downfield. It'll be off play action or something.
Yeah.
Not saying Dylan Stewart can have an impact. He's a huge deal. To South Carolina's credit, I think their best unit as a whole for this team so far has been their front seven defensively with Dylan Stewart, Fred Johnson at linebacker, Brian Thomas at the other defensive end. I think that they've done a great job, so I do expect them to kind of slow this Vanderbilt rushing attack. So I think it's kind of just going to be a bit of an ugly slugfest, not a high-scoring game. It's which QB can make the plays to get their team the win. We ready to pick the game? Any other big thoughts?
Yeah, it leads into my pick.
Yeah.
This is a 6:45 p.m. kick. Well, 7:45 for them Eastern. At South Carolina in Williams-Brice. It is going to be absolutely rolling in there. I don't know if it's a sellout, but I would assume they would sell this game out, given the hype that is kind of incurred through this week. And it's a early test for that home crowd, and it's a big test, I think, for Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt playing in front of that environment. They played in front of a big one last week in Virginia Tech. Sure, but I think this is going to be just a different animal because I think the team is just that much better.
Sure.
And for that reason, I'm taking South Carolina to cover 3.5. It's not Cocktober yet, but we're approaching Cocktober, and I'm leaning on Lenora Sellers, future Saint, to get this done.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn on who to pick in this game. I think I'm going to go with the crowd, though. As the spread has dropped, and we've heard a lot about why is South Carolina ranked and Vanderbilt not ranked because of what they did against Virginia Tech, stuff like that. I feel like South Carolina, if I was a South Carolina fan, I would feel disrespected a little bit. I think that we have something to prove this weekend and be like, we're not on the same level as Vanderbilt in the SEC. Like, we don't belong in the same conversations as them. So I think the crowd's going to come amped up, ready to make a statement. Same with the team. Beamer typically gets his boys ready to play. He'll use stuff like that for motivation. So I think it's going to be a close game, single digits, but I'm going to have South Carolina to cover the 3.5 as well.
Yeah, I was about to clarify. The screen says 4.5. It's changed since I made the graphic. It's 3.5 now. I think I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. I haven't been super happy with South Carolina's weapons. I don't know if you talked about it, but we were talking pre-show.
Yeah.
They don't have a 100-yard receiver or a 100-yard rusher through. And that's not like in a game. That's total. No running back or receiver has crossed 100 yards yet. And I think Nick Harbor's at 99. So, that's it can be a little misleading, but it's still a little concerning when you have a Heisman quarterback and a Heisman potential quarterback, potential first-round pick, potential first overall, super talented guy, and you just don't have the weapons through the first 2 games of the season, which in most schedules are going to be your easiest games. They don't have 100 yards yet. So I think I'm going to pick Vanderbilt to cover the 3.5. Really, like you said, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be an awesome stadium. It's at 6:45. I will not get to watch it, unfortunately.
Tough.
I have been there for us in a loss. Very cool stadium. The people who complain about Sandstorm and say that it's too repetitive or boring, I disagree with. It's so cool. And they get so into it that they could literally play it. They play every touchdown. They do play every touchdown. They play it during the intro. It's electric. It's so cool.
Sure.
Yeah, as the head coach of South Carolina right now, I can concur with that. Williams-Brice is rocking. I've only lost one game through 2 years at Williams-Brice, and that's for a reason.
That's how it should be. Would you pick Vanderbilt to win outright? I know it doesn't count for your record, but if do you want to take that shot, or you're just going to leave it as at Vandy covers?
I think I'm going to leave it at Vandy covers. I'm not going to sully my good name, to quote Hamilton here. I don't want to, because if I throw that out there and then I was right that they cover but they lost, I'm still wrong. So
I think you're right in that. The juice is not there to bet Vanderbilt money line. I think the juice is all there to bet the spread, though.
Fair.